fair while since the last cinematic Dr. Seuss adaptation. I think it was The Grinch way back in 2018. They always seem to come around every couple of years, and for the most part, I think they're considered inoffensive and light-hearted fun. Well, unless we're talking about the 2003 adaptation of The Cat in the Hat, which is a film that is well and truly encapsulating the phrase, you either love it or you hate it. There's no in-between. And I think a lot of that comes down to how old you were when you first watched the movie. I personally think it's an absolute classic that's funny in the dumbest of ways, but at the same time, I kind of get it if people hate it. Let's just say it's very different from the source material, and it doesn't have those classic Dr. Seuss vibes at all. It's still good though, but the purists would hate it. Plus, it leans very hard on outlandish humour that might not connect with everybody. I'm pretty sure Dr. Seuss's widow hated this thing completely and utterly though, which is why there's never been any more live-action Dr. Seuss adaptations. Well, that and the fact that the film was a massive box office bomb that only grossed $133 million off of $109 million. Thus, we came to the end of the era of grown men wearing creepy fursuits and nightmarish prosthetics in order to bring to life the classic characters from the world of Dr. Seuss. Of course, now it's been over 20 years since we got that adaptation, and so I guess the time has come to get a new one, and this time it's going to be completely animated, which is great news. Love animation, and let's be real, I think Dr. Seuss just translates way better in an animated context. Initially, I figured this was going to be a film that was made by one of the big studios. For some reason, Illumination came into my head, probably because they made the Lorax and the Grinch, so I figured it'd be a safe bet they'd be making this too. But it turns out it's being made by Warner Bros. Animated Studios, one of the way more obscure animated studios that exist in this world. Way below the level of the big three of Pixar, Disney, and Illumination, and even below the likes of perennial underdog DreamWorks, which has well and truly fallen off in the last decade or so. This is the type of studio where you might know one or two of the films they've made, like the Lego Movie, but you don't actually know the studio by name.
I know that guy, but I know like zippy zap about him.
It does have me a little bit apprehensive, as for me it's a bit of an unproven studio in terms of quality, but I am keen to give it a chance. I would love for there to be lots of different studios doing really well and releasing fun and exciting content. That being said, in a time where even the big name studios are struggling at the box office to make any sort of dent and earn the big bucks and are forced to rely on sequels and franchises, I raise my eyebrows as to whether this film's going to make any money at all. Guess we'll have to wait and see. The film doesn't release until February next year, so it's a pretty long way off. That being said, the trailer came out recently, and I figured we could take a look, so time to jump into it, I guess. As often happens with these first look teasers and trailers, they've given us a little blurb to go along with it. It reads, "Meet the cat in the hat you don't know." In the wonderfully whimsical tradition of Dr. Seuss, the Cat in the Hat comes to the big screen in his animated theatrical feature film debut, an all-new epic adventure with an edge where mischief, magic, and mayhem reign supreme. Doing what he does best, the cat, voiced by Bill Hader, spreads joy to kids in his hilarious signature and singularly irreverent way, transporting them and audiences on a fantastical journey through a world they've never seen before. In the film, our hero takes on his toughest assignment yet for the III, Institute for the Institution of Imagination and Inspiration, to cheer Gabby and Sebastian, a pair of siblings struggling with their move to a new town. Known for taking things too far, this could be this agent of chaos's last chance to prove himself or lose his magical hat. Now, right from the get-go, this plot synopsis screams one big thing. The film is going to be very loosely inspired by the plot of the book, and will obviously have some major additions and changes. I mean, they legitimately tell you that in the first sentence. The cat in the hat you don't know, i.e., it's a completely different take on the character and the story. I can already imagine the book purists are going to be annoyed at this. You might scoff and sneer at that, saying, what book purists? There are book purists for Dr. Seuss, and yes, there are. I know it may seem to be a bit of an absurdity that they exist for a fairly short children's book, but they exist. I was as shocked as you. To tell you the truth though, I'm not really all that fussed about them making changes to the plot and service of the film. The reality is that if you just made a straight one-to-one adaptation of the book, you're going to end up with a very short movie. It would be more like a made-for-TV special than anything else. Thus, you need to add things in to bulk it out to a more reasonable runtime, otherwise it's not going to be a movie that anyone's going to pay money to see. On top of all of that, it seems that they're intending to make this into some sort of shared universe sort of thing, which feels a bit overly ambitious if you ask me. They have The Cat in the Hat, which is set to release in 2026, and then apparently they also have Thing 1 and Thing 2, who have a spin-off film that's planned, but I think is still in development. There's no hard release date for that as of right now, and there's probably a good chance they're waiting to see how this film does before they make any sort of hard commitment to its release. After all, if this film flops, then why would anybody be stupid enough to go and pay to see a spin-off film based on two minor characters? It's pretty clear though that they're hoping that the Cat in the Hat and then the Things can operate somewhat like Despicable Me and the Minions. I mean, I think that there's honestly no chance of it ever being able to match up to those lofty heights, but they're definitely looking to forge that sort of dynamic and audience interest. We also know that Oh the Places You'll Go is getting an adaptation going forward, which is set to release in 2028. I will say that I think that this movie has a lot of potential, simply because it could be anything, and that particular book is massively famous because so many uninspired teenagers use it as a yearbook quote. But yes, back to talking about the weird cinematic universe they've decided to make. Apparently this thing's going to be called the SeUSSIVERSE, which sounds like a parody, but no, it's real. We'll have to wait and see how it all goes, but I do have to wonder, who asked for this? And why do they think it's a good idea? Anyway though, time to dive into the trailer and see what we're going to be getting. Instantly from the beginning, in the very first shot of the cat flying a hot air balloon resembling the iconic hat, I was hooked. I thought it looked incredible. Then they have the shot of the cat and his cart thingy making his way through what seems to be a wondrous and magical world filled with stuff, and suddenly I wasn't as hooked. I'm going to say this early, I'm not on board with this animation style to tell you the truth, at least when he's in the magical world. I don't know what it is about it, it's just not for me. However, the trailer music is doing a good job of setting the scene and getting me invested in the story. The cat arrives at a random room and approaches a box or a treasure chest of some kind when some little green dude with a very monotone, deadpan sort of voice appears and tells him that he shouldn't be opening this. So did this guy come with him? Is he a sidekick of some kind? Or was he just waiting there that whole time? Here we come to the first joke of the trailer, where the cat ignores this dude's advice and the note on the box and opens it to find a smaller box with the same note. And on it goes until he finally gets to the final box and opens it and it cuts away. Yeah, fair enough. I suppose probably they didn't want to spoil all the plot points to your movie so soon. I didn't particularly find this joke very funny, but I watched the trailer with my girlfriend and she was laughing, so there's that. I'll also say this based on the brief snippet of the cat's voice. I don't like it. I don't know, it just doesn't seem to fit the character for me. I know Bill Hader's a good actor and all, and it's not like the voice performance is bad, it just feels a bit generic for my tastes. We get some music and the trailer pretty much becomes any sort of generic animated trailer in the vein of an Illumination film. Seriously, felt like it was going hard with those Despicable Me vibes in how the trailer was presented. Here we get a look at the magical and fantastical side of things, and yeah, I'm still not buying into the animation. When they actually go to the human world, it's a different story, but in the cat's world, I just don't like it. At times for me, it felt like the graphics were from a movie tie-in video game for the PlayStation 2. Not a pleasant look. We learn that the cat is an employee for the Institute of the Institution of Imagination and Inspiration, and that based on how everybody reacts to him, he's a bit of an office loser and known screw-up. I will say I found it very funny to see all the different rhyming characters that they're including. I thought that was a nice touch. And then based on what they say here about how he lost multiple giraffes and made the news on his last mission, it seems like it's going to be his last chance before he gets fired, and thereby loses his magic hat, as referenced in the blurb for the trailer. From here, we meet our human protagonists, who in this version are named Gabby and Sebastian, who are two siblings who are struggling with having moved to a new town. So these kids are going to be Sally and the unnamed boy replacements from the original. Once again, I'm sure some purists, and realistically probably racists too, sharpening their pitchforks complaining about changing things, but you know what? Who cares about that? Is anybody's favourite character in the books actually the children? And if so, why? What's wrong with you? In my eyes, as long as they have the cat, the things, and the fish, and as long as they trash the house and then the cat comes back to save the day at the last second and gets his redemption, then everything is fine and dandy. It'll be faithful enough for me. Then we come to the first part of the trailer that I actually genuinely found funny. The cat arrives and meets the kids and announces that it's going to be the best day ever, only to cop some pepper spray to the face from the sister. Gave me a good giggle because I honestly just do love these sorts of absurd, out of left field sort of gags. But I also think that whilst it is absurd and goofy, it actually makes a lot of sense, which ups the comedy. I mean, how would you react if a giant talking cat entered your house? Probably not well. Also doubly funny is that she shows him absolutely no mercy at all. She blasts him once and that is enough to take him down. He's finished off. Yet she unleashes a second spray right into his eyes when he's on the ground, completely subdued, defenseless and begging for mercy. Couple that with his screaming and it was comedy gold. Here we get our hyper montage of various things that the cat's going to get up to over the course of the movie. We see the cat burning what seems to be a band t-shirt, using his hat as a welder, so already getting to work, causing chaos and destruction. We see a character from the cat's world that seemingly come to the house to find the cat. And part of me wonders if he wasn't supposed to have this assignment in the first place, and he went without permission to try to prove himself. She could be coming to scold him or telling him to go back. After all, later on we see his boss call him to yell at him as well. We see the cat back in the magical world with a bunch of birds in a cinema. We see the fish hating on the cat. So what do we reckon the fish's deal's going to be in this movie? Is he going to be a talking fish that just exists somehow and we're not meant to say anything about it? Or will he be made able to talk by the cat when he arrives? Could it be revealed that he's another dropout from Magical Land and that's why he's so salty? Next up, something goes wrong with some device the cat's showing the kids, which I'm sure is going to cause a lot of chaos. We see the cat pop off his leg, we see him dance with a bunch of walking instruments, and then he narrowly avoids getting another healthy dose of pepper spray by showing off his magical powers, and then they ride on his magical couch contraption. All fine so far, it actually looks very interesting, pretty fun and fantastical. Until we got our first fart joke, and it wasn't a funny one. I'm not against toilet humour at all. It has its place, and when well done, it can be extremely funny, but this is just, nah. It wasn't their best work, I'll put it that way.
First try.
The whole joke is that his boss is FaceTiming him and telling him he's gone too far, whilst the cat responds by continually asking him whether he just said toot fart. Ha ha ha! Comedy gold! Oscar-winning dialogue there for sure. It does not bode well for the film if this is the type of thing they think is going to be funny. We then finish off the trailer with our first look at the things. The cat goes off with the sister, leaving the brother and the fish alone with a random red box, out from which jumps Thing 1 and Thing 3. Oh. Plus a bunch of other things, but not Thing 2. Yep, 100% they're trying to get the Minions' popularity for sure with this. I'm guessing these guys are all going to be running wild, then they're going to have to capture them one by one, only to realise that Thing 2 isn't there, and that he's also still running wild. Here is where the trailer ends, and I'm still not really all that sure about it. I honestly think I just need to see more to really decide whether I'd want to see this movie to begin with, but for now, it just looks very mid. Regardless, with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the trailer? Did you like it? Hate it? Has it hyped you up for the film? Maybe not? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.